Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to the pod. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but most folks around here just call me Dylan. Why don't you get the whole family together and join us for another exciting episode of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Sabo podcast. I'm...
I thought that was a bit! And then you started laughing and I realized you didn't try that, did you? Oh, I think we found our gold open.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're talking about episode 481 of Adventures in Odyssey. Grand Opening, Part 1.
I'm really happy. I love this episode.
It's a good one.
Yeah. No, as we talked about last episode, this is, for me personally, like, one of my most favorite episodes of Adventures in Odyssey, and also it's just, like, I've listened to it a bunch because I had it, like, you know, personally downloaded or whatever. And so to get back here is, like, really exciting. You want to roll the promo?
Yeah, we can start off with the promo right off the bat.
On the next Adventures in Odyssey, a happy occasion
Wits End, Connellsville is now officially open.
takes an interesting turn.
There's some really weird stuff happening around Odyssey lately. Eugene's working on some super secret project, and now there are spy cameras planted in Wits End and Connellsville.
What in the world?
Aram!
Oh, Eugene, what have you gotten yourself into?
Find out on the next Adventures in Odyssey.
Once again, bad music choice.
Yeah, it sounds like Angry Birds music. What the heck?
Also noteworthy, we get a short clip of Tom, who's in Part 2, but not Part 1.
That good research. Very nice.
Dude, I just noticed that listening to it.
Oh, really?
That wasn't research.
Oh, I didn't. I thought in your deep dive you had found that out.
No.
I didn't notice that. Clearly.
No, what I did find out in my deep dive is that there are 3 different credited writers on these 2 episodes, this 2-parter, and I was like, interesting, tell me more. So they had each writer deal with a different storyline throughout it,
Interesting.
which was an interesting way of like covering one of their bigger things. So Marshall Younger did like all of the Wits End stuff. And then Kathy Buchanan wrote the Connie and Mitch stuff.
Of course, because she's a woman.
Because she writes most of the Connie and Mitch stuff, but sure. Also that reason. And John Beebe wrote all the kids' stuff. So.
That is cool. That's unique. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. And then it was directed by 2 people as well. We got both John Fornoff and Marshall Younger directing it.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, I was right.
That's really cool. Yeah. So I guess so the intro is nice. It again wasn't didn't overexpose, which I feel like is cool.
They find their cars close to the chest. It does like a little bit of the hey Novacom up to speed stuff.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. And did they say Andromeda in that?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Rewind, listeners.
Yeah. Please.
Call us out.
We need
All
that.
contact
we need that
is good
interaction.
contact.
Basically. Have you gotten any emails?
No, wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com.
Yeah,
Hit me up.
that's honestly what we should be plugging for.
Well, it's in the credits every week,
Oh, okay, cool.
along with our social media accounts that we do not use. Maybe I'll hand over the Instagram account to you, and you can
Run that.
Okay, so we open up on Whit and Mary at the grand opening for Wits End, Connellsville, which apparently is the official name of the place.
Yep. Wits End Connellsville is now officially open.
That is not a good Wit impression,
No,
but
no,
it
it's
is
not.
a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Sound engineering, awesome. Clapping, cheering, and Wit talking through a mic.
Really,
Could not be better.
so good.
Like, it's
so good. And like the scissor cutting noise and everything, it's all like really vivid imagination for this part of this episode.
Yeah, it's awesome. And we get
Really good ambient noise in Wit's End too, as well.
Wit's End 2. And
That should just be what it's called.
yeah. We also we get Mary and Connie and Wit talking, and we find out that the Imagination Station is still not up and running, but Wit hopes to in the next week.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that is kind of amazing.
Which is just an interesting thing to note, because that was the big, like, we gotta get this thing done!
Yeah.
And then all the parts were stolen, and now it's like, well, we can open without it. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Plot.
Yeah, I guess. Well, and I guess it works in the sense because the people in Oswald Heights had already been to Wit's End with a functioning Imagination Station. So just by being like, oh, this is out of order, but it will be back. Like, oh, that's cool. That really cool thing from over there. Like, we can be able to do that. So I guess that tracks. I guess.
More or less. And then we get Tony.
Alex. Wait.
No, we get Tony running by and saying, like, hey, Wit, can I talk to you? Mm-hmm. So Tony's back.
Yay!
Cut to Calix is back. And then, sound effect, Aram's back.
Woohoo!
The trifecta of
It's
characters
so
I
good.
care about.
Yeah, basically.
I think I just called Alex and Cal one character, but sure.
Yeah, basically, it's two sides of one coin. It's like the whole Jason Witt dichotomy there. Like, one the other side. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like it.
It's they're a regular old Harvey Dent. So there, Alex is super excited because he's looking at the computers at Wit's End, and they've got like fast internet, and he's like having a blast. And I was like, it's interesting that Wit's End 2 has better stuff than the original Wit's End.
Yeah.
Maybe Connellsville is just a bigger city, so they get better internet.
Yeah, which also he said this must be a direct line.
Right, as opposed to like they don't have dial-up here.
Yeah. Which is
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
this is the time. Which
Yep.
I was just like one of those words that I heard. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
huh.
So they're working on this computer, and all of a sudden,
Aram sound effect.
Aram sound effect shows up.
We need it. How do we find that?
I mean, I can just cut it out of an episode.
Yeah.
There's probably not too much background noise. I just need that on like a ham horn, but it's the Aaron sound effect.
That would work. Oh, that'd be so good. Maybe that could be my homework.
And so Cal doesn't really, Alex does not want to interact with Aram. Cal pushes him off the chair and takes over.
Of course.
Aram says, go to Wit's End Connellsville, which is not a web address,
Nope.
but it works.
Yeah.
So they go to this place. It prompts them for a password entry. The password is butter.
Of course, because it's Wit.
It's not, though.
Oh, that's right. It's Mary?
Sure.
Presumably?
Yeah, or
Random security agent guy?
yeah. Who's got Benson? Is it Mr. Benson's the random security agent guy? So password's butter. They get in. He asks them to type Cam 7, and all of a sudden
17?
Oh, my bad. Cam 17. They type it in, and it's a video of them from behind.
Yeah.
And they realize,
oh no!
someone's put cameras in Wit's End.
Ah, where's the security?
Yep. So their assumption is, my assumption listening to it was like, oh, big deal, like Wit put cameras around the place.
Yeah.
Their assumption, though, is like someone else put cameras in the place.
That was always my assumption, too, because when I think about security cameras put in buildings, like, you kind of want them to be seen a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We'll get to it. Then we cut back to Wit and Tony, and Tony's like, that guy over there is the bald guy from before. And actually, do Connie and Mary show up and ask him about that or something too? And then he's like,
That's afterwards, yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. And then Cal and Alex run up and they're like, Aram's on the computer, and Wit's is like, I guess that's more important than the bald guy.
Yeah.
Let's walk away. And it's like, I realize Aram's a bad guy, and we've seen a bunch of him being bad, but also you know for a fact that that guy right there asked someone to put a camera in your office.
Yeah.
Maybe before he leaves,
Well, and-
you should talk to him, and maybe Aram will stay around.
Yeah, and Aram's a reoccurring character. He's shown up like again and again. Like this isn't the first, and it's probably not going to be the last from his perspective.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why he wouldn't just be like, priorities. Let's
go
get rid of
talk to the
creepy-
bald guy and worry about Aram later. And the thing is, like, when we get over to the computer, it's not even that Aram's still there. It's just that the camera feed's still up.
Yeah.
So, like, we just misses out on this chance to find out about the bald guy because, you know, because Aram. So,
Cue sound effect.
yep. So we go back to their computer. The camera's up. Wit's like, this is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the cops in here. And Mary's like, not so fast. This was my doing.
Yeah. Which again, Mary, that's these decisions that like probably Wit should know about.
Her reasoning is Wit was busy and in Chicago. This was in the contract from the beginning, and she put security cameras up in all of her buildings.
Yeah, I guess. I mean that's solid.
Yeah.
But also, in books?
Yeah, but also Wit's concern is like these cameras are gonna undo the trust we've earned, and it's like, no, they're not.
They're hidden.
One, they're hidden. Two, every respectable place of business has security cameras. Our church has security cameras. It's a church. Wit then goes to the security office and talks to the security guy in that office about all these cameras, and he's like, you've got cameras in books hiding like all over the place. And the guy says, well, actually, no. At the ice cream counter, they're in the milkshake machine.
Yeah.
Horrible idea.
Well, and also, I can't imagine what kind of good vantage point you're going to get, because somebody's either going to be standing in front of it or with their back to it. Most of the time.
Yep. Bad idea. And then at the in the Bible room, they're in the whale's eye.
Yep, of the Jonah display.
Yep.
Like I said, most of this episode memorized.
And so Wit's just kind of like, hey, where'd you get these? They're like at some security place in Connellsville. Surveillance City. Then Wit's like, all right, I'll go take a look over at that place. And also before I go, just turn off all the cameras.
Yeah.
And the security guy's just like,
Okay.
yeah, I can do that. And part of me is like, even ignoring the fact that Wit is paranoid and doesn't want these security cameras and wants to keep trust and all of that stuff, it does make sense to turn them off right now when some guy has breached your system and you know it.
Yeah, that which is like pretty smart by Wit.
Yeah.
In that sense. And like also, Wit seems less paranoid in this situation because he has been like breached. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason, there is a very much like, this isn't normal Wit's End. Like, this is kind of the front lines Wit's End. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it
Yeah.
makes sense to be like, we are vulnerable here. We need to make sure that we aren't able to be taken advantage of through, you know, hacking and whatever.
Yep. Next, we go to Alex and Cal sitting at the table. And Sarah walks up, and they're like, they start to talk about stuff, and they're like, careful, the paper
Napkin
dispenser
might be bugged.
And Sarah says, to quote, too many video games turns your brain into macaroni and cheese.
Which, macaroni and cheese is pretty good, so like, I don't know, they're worse things, but also...
Mac and cheese brain.
Yeah, I guess. And also, mac and cheese kind of does look like brains a little bit. Is that
I was
the joke?
thinking it, and I didn't say it, but maybe? I don't know.
Just the curly lines. I
Yeah,
guess.
yep.
Leaving it at that.
Yeah,
so they let her know about Aram and everything.
Oh, yeah, they start to fill her in about stuff. Oh!
And they don't feel safe.
Right.
Which is important.
Right. They don't want to talk about stuff. They decide that they're going to leave. They mention about the video camera and book situation, which then Sarah's like, video camera and book, because
Book?
last episode we talked about video camera and book.
Tying together.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and so they are like, we should go back to Odyssey, which made me think, good point. How did all of the Odyssey kids get to
there.
Connellsville?
Yeah, because their parents would have had to drop them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But-
Unless there was some sort of shuttle system that Wit had set up
Yeah.
for the grand opening, but
Maybe.
that's not talked about, so can't
Yeah.
really assume that that's a thing.
Yeah.
But is this the first mentioning of Wonderworld in this
In this
series?
series, yeah, and I was very excited.
love
So they
Wonderworld.
decide they're going to go to Wonderworld.
Yeah. Which is like their tree fort?
Yeah,
Ish?
it's a tree fort.
Yeah. That's just always how I imagined it.
Yep. Okay. Then we go to Connie and Wit. Mm-hmm. And Wit basically, Wit's kind of like, so I looked into this thing called Andromeda,
Yeah.
and
Andromeda.
is it?
Because Wit knows.
Oh, Wit knows about Andromeda's
Andromeda
connection
owning
to the
Nova.
book.
Yeah.
And then so Andromeda owns Novacom.
Yes. And so Connie finds out.
Yep.
And then when Connie sees Mitch later, she's like super awkward and has this like really weird discussion with him.
Yeah. So Wit says like that he doesn't want Connie to talk about this stuff because Wit's kind of like, oh, where are you headed? And she's like, I'm going out with Mitch. And Wit's like, let's not talk about stuff with Mitch.
Yeah, because he's connected. That
'Cause
makes
he
sense.
Works to Novacom. It makes sense, but also,
Mitch has only proven himself to be a good person at this point in time.
and the big thing episodes ago was, hey,
Trust Mitch.
like, hey, I'm Wit speaking to you, Connie, and I say it's fine to date Mitch even though he's working for Novacom because I've met him and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So you can ignore the fact that he works for Novacom and not get so stressed out about the fact that he works for Novacom. And now Wit's like,
Don't talk to him. He works
don't
for
talk to
Novacom.
him. He works for Novacom, which was a little disappointing to me.
Yeah, and it is backtracking, but again, you do get the sense of like people are uncomfortable because things are actually happening, and you know, and whether that is completely logically bound or not, and I guess Wit does have license to be kind of paranoid in this situation where it does feel like you're in the middle of something very intense that's happening.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing does go out the window. It is just a shame that he wasn't more grounded in that sense. This is when he needs Tom Riley to come in.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, good buddy Tom. Next episode.
Good guy, Tom. Yeah. Clearly stated.
The other thing is, so then Connie basically was just like, okay, I'll be Miss Nonchalant, which is,
Oof.
yeah.
Oof.
So then we cut to Connie with Mitch. My first note about this is like, she opens the door, gets into his car.
Mitch.
He sounds a little too Rodney.
He does.
When she first gets in. I was like,
Ooh.
I like you a lot, Steve Burns, but you sound a little Rodney at the moment.
The
and I'm
lines are
not
being blurred,
comfortable.
and I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like he's doing Rodney, but there's just like, when it first
A
opens up,
twinge.
I'm like, this is a little bit Rodney.
Yeah, the inflection's just a little bit
Yeah,
off.
and then he turns it off.
Yeah.
And then he's back to
Yeah.
Mitch. So Connie, honestly, when she was like, I'll be Miss Nonchalant, I expected her to be so much worse.
Yeah.
Because of what's set up throughout this show. But she was actually
Pretty good.
pretty decent.
She wasn't great, but
No.
but she was good enough.
Yeah.
And so they have this like dialogue where
Because she's asking decent questions of like, oh, I never get to hear about your work. And like, yes,
Yeah.
her motivations are bad, but it is good stuff to talk about.
well, and the delivery is somewhat awkward, but it's also like these guys are dating. Like there is like romantic
Yeah.
involvement there, and he does work for a company that is admittedly pretty mysterious. So
Yeah.
like it does make sense for her to have those conversations. It's just, she's awkward.
So she asks about who like Novacom's boss is,
Yeah.
and or like if there are any other companies they work with, and
And
Mitch rattles off like a million companies.
And they're all star names.
They're all space themed.
They're all like constellation names, like
There's-
Polaris
There's
and
Galileo at one point. Andromeda is
yeah.
a galaxy.
Yep.
Novacom, Nova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, there's more, though.
Oh, yeah, there's so many.
Polaris Enterprises.
You already said Polaris.
No, I said Vega. Did we say Vega?
Vega is also another thing. Yeah,
There's a bunch. They're all constellation names. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, which is really fun.
Which, again, an odd point of, like, we need a bunch of company names. They're just all going to be star things.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And we're moving on. Like, what kind of conversation is that in the writer's room?
I don't know. I like it. And then we cut to...
But they all sound like legit company names.
Yeah.
Which is
kind
of funny.
They do it well. And so that's just kind of it for the Connie and Mitch storyline in this episode. We'll get more in part 2 coming the week after this if everything goes well, which, maybe not.
Probably will.
I like your positivity.
Yeah. Well, considering I'm normally the one that flakes.
And then we also get so we jump to Wonderworld. Mm-hmm. They're all going up into it. It was at this point where I was like, they went back to Odyssey. The Cal and Alex and now Sarah are all going up to Wonderworld. Like, you should have dragged Mandy into it.
Yeah.
Too.
Especially
she feels
given
like
the situation.
Weirdly missing.
Yeah.
But
especially because Cal and Alex and Mandy and Liz / Mandy and Sarah are like, they're like parallel sort of character types,
right?
And like there's like the two friends, opposite friend dynamic. Like it does make sense for her to be there. It is kind of odd that she isn't.
Yeah, it is, but it's not that big
Wonderworld.
Yeah, Wonderworld. They say he says at some point like some kid built it a long time ago. Yeah, which my boy Digger Digwillow.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like first album Odyssey, Digger Digwillow.
Yeah.
Built the treehouse, and then Jimmy Barclay is primarily who we know of using it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a cool treehouse. But I love there are so few things that harken back to early Odyssey days,
like early Odyssey days.
And, like, you never really hear, like, the generations of kids interacting and, like, that sort of stuff. Because it doesn't make sense for them to. But this is just a really cool, like, hey, here's a place that exists that was created by a previous kid. And, like, we're still using it.
Yeah, and it's a universe, like, it expands the universe by supplying consistent, not primary locations.
Right.
So, like, there's, like, I guess the Electric Palace and Wits End and other places, but when you get Blackguard's Palace or was it Blackguard's
Theater, the Globe? Is it the Globe? Did
you
make it a Globe thing?
Yeah,
I forget.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And like when you hear mention of that, it expands this universe, and you do get this like very full sense of like storylines and like cohesive nature, and it just adds to the ability to enjoy it and connect with it, which is cool.
Yeah, and I think there's something so fun about the idea of like
a tree fort.
It's a small town, and some kid made this awesome tree fort, and now for decades, different kids have just been using it at different times. Like, I love that.
It makes and just the idea of a tree fort, like it is different because Wits End was kind of like their tree fort as far as like how they interact there. But it's very much not. Like this is where the kids run the show. Like this is their spot.
Yeah.
That they made and they've inhabited.
Yeah. And so they then kind of throw everything out on the table. Like, hey,
what do we know?
Here's what we know. Here's what we know. Let's put all this together. Like, I just love all these threads interweaving and just becoming like the story.
Yeah, that we have. And this is obviously, this is what, 2 albums worth of setup has been pointing towards is like, all right, go. Storylines coming together, like action is happening. Like this episode flies by because so much happens.
Andromeda owns Novacom, and Andromeda put
connected with Mitch. And
so Mitch works for Novacom, and Andromeda owns Novacom, and Andromeda is where Jared's dad worked, and they placed the bug with the book, and Whit also had a bug with the book placed in his office in addition to an exploding modem, and we
got Wits End 1 and Wits End 2,
and Aram's the plans to the Imagination Station were stolen. That's not talked about here, but that's just something I figured I'd throw out. and they're talking about the fact that like Eugene's plans are connected now with like because of this Aram thread. Like he pointed out the bug in Wit's office and also like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, let's figure out who Aram is. And so they just start like trying to break down his name, and I was just cracking up listening to it.
Yeah, the word association.
Yeah, they're just playing word association, the game. Like they're just grabbing like Aram, mayor. It's the mayor. It's Mayor Faye.
Yeah.
And like all of
Margaret
this
Faye.
non-stop stuff. He's like, if you flip it around, it's like if you
Do,
switch,
re, mi.
yeah.
He's a musician.
And
Latino. He's a Latino musician.
Oh,
Oh, that's not even the scale.
that is not the scale. That is. I was just really uncomfortable. with
Yeah.
that.
It's so good though.
Aram's a Latino musician.
Yeah, and then there's like butter and eggs.
and I love
butter and milk over eggs.
Yep.
Or butter.
scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs. What does that mean?
He's
we don't know.
Frasier.
Yeah. Dang it. What was this? Is there another one?
Probably. But there's just like, there's all of this nonsense they're trying to come out with. And my favorite part is like Sarah just being there and just being like, all right, guys. Like, it was fun figuring out what we know, but this endless speculation is just dumb.
It's not helping anything.
And like, there was a lot that I could relate to with these two kids, like trying to break this code and stuff. Cause like, how many times did I as a child, like, try to find meaning and stuff that didn't? Like, I remember sitting, like, I had this kid who I was friends with. His name was Jimmy, and he was like a wannabe police officer in like 3rd grade.
Oh boy.
And so like he was like slowly getting all the gear up, and we used to just like talk about like, I don't know, random stuff like we'd see some guy's license plate and like convert the numbers to letters and like try like that sort of stuff that you do as a kid of just like trying to make boring stuff interesting or trying to figure out extra levels to things. And it's just so fun to see them do it here, where it's like
these likable characters that you've connected to, and then you just like they're just like speculating with stuff that's like important.
And it doesn't make any sense. It's super dumb, and I'm glad Sarah's there to call it out, but also I totally get it.
Yeah, and I totally love it. Like, and the whole bit with Jared making code in the previous episode, like, I totally made a bunch of codes as a kid, and I never used any of them. But like, I always wanted to have like a secret alphabet and like whatever.
Oh yeah, the amount of stuff I have somewhere written in Elvish, like those sort of things, where it's just like
of course you learned Elvish or some of it.
Yeah, I never learned the like the actual translation of words, but I learned the alphabet so I could write English words in Elvish script.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm proud, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think Nathan did that too for a bit.
Anyways, so now we jump to Wit, and he walks into Surveillance City. And there's a guy, Larry, working the desk. And Wit's like, Larry, I didn't know you worked here. And so like I checked, and this is Larry's only appearance ever.
Yeah, and he's voiced by Wooten, right?
Yeah, he's voiced by Jess Harnell.
Okay.
Yep. But like it's a fun thing of just like, once again, we're creating a lived-in world, but like it doesn't matter that we doesn't actually know this guy, or like that we haven't established this in the past, because we're doing it right now and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then he's the worst employee in the world.
Yeah.
So
He
bad. It's a
basically just-
surveillance company, guys.
Yeah.
They should be covert.
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah, but this guy's like super into the spy thing, and like, you know, and there's some like really funny like jokey dialogue when he's talking about like, oh, what do you need these things? What do you need the cameras for? Like, are you spying on a rival ice cream store trying to get some dirt on them?
Yep.
And all
Which
that
is
stuff.
a great reference. I don't know if it's intentionally connected, but when they find the camera in Wit's office, Connie's like, is it from the
Dairy?
Nope, it's not Dairy Queen. It is Dairy Dream.
Dairy Dream. There you go.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Look at that. I'm good.
Callbacks.
Yeah, we're recording everything in one day, so I get all of it.
Yeah. We've been recording for 21 hours straight. I've peed once. I'm gonna die. Please get help.
Yeah. It's true, guys. Andrew, his bladder, it just can't handle it anymore.
I need some salt and I need it now.
Okay, so he's just like rattling off all this stuff, and Wit's like, can you tell me about this camera? And he's like, oh yeah, it's a really small one. Unfortunately, if you're gonna want one, we can't sell you them because some company came and bought up, some Odyssey-based communications company came and bought them all up. And Wit's like, Novacom? And he's like, well, I can't say, but yes. You want to see the receipt? There was some kid who came in here and picked it up. And Wit's like, a kid? It must be Mitch. And so he pulls out the receipt.
No, he said some kid in community relations, which we just learned earlier that from Mitch's conversation with Connie that's where he works.
Yeah. But Wit's clearly like, it's Mitch.
Yeah, of course.
And then they pull out the receipt, and it's actually Mitch. And I'm just always pissed off when Wit is right.
Yeah, basically.
But,
it's so exciting, though. Oh, I love it.
But yeah, and that's the episode, guys.
Yeah, and then it ends because it's a part one, so there's...
Yeah, it's a part one. But yeah, it's super...
That's so funny. Exciting. So on the Adventures in Odyssey wiki, there's discussion questions at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, there's discussion.
Bible study or something for it. One of the questions is, do you think Mitch is a good friend for Connie? Why or why not?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
He's only proven to be a good person.
Yeah, but he works for the bad guys.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, so it cuts out because it's a part one, so it's just like with Chains where there's no outro.
Yep. There was a broadcast outro, but we don't get an outro.
Yeah, sadly. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Not really. I'm super, like, it's gonna be hard to wait a week to listen to this next episode.
Yeah.
Or however long it is till we record, because we're no consistent schedule here, guys.
No.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. This is one of my like obviously I said like this is one of my favorite episodes, and so like getting to this album now that we're on Counter Moves, I'm just like really, really happy, really excited. Like this is when you said you wanted to like, do you want to like make a podcast where we go through Novacom? And I was like, yeah, Counter Moves, let's go. I completely forgot we had to get through 2 albums before that.
Well, it was 8 episodes, man.
8 episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
But
now things are really picking up. Everything's starting to come together.
Well, the episodes feel like they're flying by.
Over me. Doom, doom, doo, doo, doom, doom. Don't sue us.
We're not making any money off this. How could they?
I don't know, but I don't want to find out.
True.
Yeah, so that's a wrap on what we want to talk about. Yeah, so we'll see you in a week with part 2 of Grand Opening.
Wad Fam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Cooperative. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Episode 10, Grand Opening Part 1, was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us next time for more of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.